implementing SQL Server on the cloud than Microsoft has with SQL Azure, honestly. And I know this because I used to work with the SQL Azure team. But this is the reality, so you should know the reality. So that's the relational implementation. To stay on topic, I was talking about a NoSQL implementation. One of the NoSQL implementations on Amazon's cloud is DynamoDB. So DynamoDB is a key value store, infinitely scalable. So what would you use this for? What would be a business case? I'll give you an example. We recently had the election in the United States. Obama won. Yay. Yeah? Obama campaign ran their entire infrastructure on Amazon Cloud. So how do you work with Amazon? Well, Amazon and all of these cloud services have graphical user interfaces, which, again, for the purposes of this time, I'm showing you. In addition to this, if you're wanting to have expertise, they have APIs, because some of you are also application developers. And these data solutions that I'm showing you, of course, can be wired to applications. So I'll just show you for the concept. So I create a table, and I'll call this one BJ. Am I spelling right? Vijayawada? Yeah. Okay. I hope it's right. Okay, and then I have to set. Is that right? Please tell me if it's right. I have to set a primary key, and then I have to set a hash attribute name, and I'll just call this students. Okay, and then once I set this, I say continue, and then I need to set the throughput. This is quite interesting. Database as a service. You know, you're probably familiar with software as a service. Many people use, a Microsoft Office 365 or something. This is database as a service. Kind of like you buy your electricity or you buy your water. You're paying by capacity rather than buying an Oracle license. So what is the capacity for read and for write? So let's say we want 10 read, 10 write, and then it tells you how much it's going to cost you. Pay attention to this, okay? And then when you're done with this, you say continue. And then you can set alarms to say, it's going to be costing me more money. So a new skill area for data professionals is to understand the monitoring capacity of the cloud tools, so that we can help our customers to understand how much it will cost them to have data bursting. So I'm going to say create. And that will be it. That's all you do. Okay? So there's my table. So now to get information into this, I would have to create an application, and I'd have to write with the API. I would have to pass my Amazon key for a security credential, and then I would write information. This is my database. Very, very different. Very different world. But infinitely scalable. So again, a key understanding from my talk is to help you to start thinking about the types of data structures, databases beyond Oracle. Oracle will still be there. SQL Server will still be there. They are solid, excellent products. Customers will want to store their transactional data there. But for those of us who work in the data industry, we must know more now. Because of the advent of big data, because of the sensor data, because of the social media data, because our employers are going to expect us to take this behavioral data and to also process it so that they can get more value from their business. So I made some examples from work I have done in the past year. So one example would be log files. Most businesses run networks. Every machine has extensive log files. A common situation is now, because these data storage vehicles are so inexpensive, no licensing, MongoDB, Hadoop, so on, we can now do analysis against the log files from our machines. So a very common way to solve this is to use HBase or Hadoop and just put all this information into Hadoop. Product Product catalogs. Seeing product catalogs on DynamoDB. Many large retailers in the U.S. do that. I think there's one, it's called Target. It would be similar to Shopper's Shop. Do you have Shopper's Shop here?
Yes.
Similar? Okay. Yeah, I've been shopping. I'm a woman, so. User profiles. Got everyone talking on that one. User profiles are often put as key value in memory. There's a database called Redis. I mentioned startups, especially mobile apps, often go on MongoDB. Social media, sometimes they'll go on Neo4j. And notice I did include on there, line of business with transactions, do not use NoSQL. I have been called many times over the past year where leaders of businesses have heard, NoSQL, no licenses, oh, I don't have to pay Oracle all that money, I don't have to pay Microsoft all that money, I'm going to move my data off. And when I explain to them that NoSQL is often open source, no enterprise support unless you pay for it, no transactions, they say, oh, I don't want to do that. Maybe I can put some of my other data in NoSQL. So it's a key message for my talk today. You will have relational, and you will have something else. NoSQL means not only relational, not only SQL. It doesn't mean instead of. It means in addition to. So bringing this back to the theoretical, because it is important that you understand the underlying theory. The world that we're learning and we're working in is consistency and availability, which is SQL Server, SQL Azure, MySQL, Oracle, and that world will still be there. The new worlds that we all need to start learning and working with are consistency and partitioning, which are things like Hadoop, Bigtable, HBase, Memcache, Neo4j. Availability and partitioning, but not consistency. Dynamo, Couch, Cassandra, Voldemort. Need to use the right tool for the right job. Hadoop is the one that is driving the implementation in the US. I have done speaking, I have done talks, I have done classes, but I have not implemented Hadoop in production. I've played around with it in 1 year, even though I'm an expert in big data. Do you know why not? Because you have to have the data before you use Hadoop. How much data? It should be petabytes of data. I have people calling me all the time. I want Hadoop. How much data do you have? 10 gigabytes. No, you do not want Hadoop. You think you do, but you don't. You have to have a business reason to move to big data, not just because it's the fashion. A consideration with Hadoop that I haven't yet mentioned that's very important is currently the query is batch. It's like an old mainframe. It's not interactive. If I can get, let's see if I can go out here and see if my Hadoop cluster is up. I thought I saw that it was up. Yeah, so here's my HDN site, my cluster. So inside of here, I can go ahead and I can run a job. And the job can be run in Java, JavaScript, or if I use Hadoop streaming, which uses standard in, standard out, I can use any language like Python or C# or whatever. And the idea with this is that you have, in this world of Hadoop, two parts to your job. You have a map, and then you have a reduce. So it's called MapReduce. Okay? The concept with Hadoop, and remember this comes from Google, indexing the web, is that the algorithm goes to the data. Because you have the data massively distributed across hundreds or even thousands of physical nodes. So in the map portion of the job, the algorithm goes to each node, and it does a process on the node. In the reduce portion of the algorithm, the result of the mappers are aggregated. That's very oversimplified, but that's an introduction. So let me create a job here. Let me go back, and I'll do from the samples. The hello world of Hadoop is word count. And the idea is that you count the number of occurrences of each word in a given input set. Remember, it doesn't have to be relational or anything. Okay? And then you show the results. So, show you. And what this will do is it will take from the Da Vinci Project Gutenberg ebook, and it will run, in this instance, the sample, there are 3 nodes. So it'll run 3 map jobs and 1 reduce job. And this is the information about it here. So I will have a source file, I will have the Java, and this was sent into a jar file. And if I click deploy, then this will deploy these files to my cluster for testing. If you are new learning this, it's an excellent way to learn because it's very simple, and this is a beta, so it's completely free. This cannot be used for production yet, but it's a very easy way to learn. So you can see here's the job name, then you have 2 parameters, you have word count, and there's the example. And then scrolling down, there's the actual command that runs from the command line, Hadoop, there's the jar file, and then there's the source file, and there's the output for the result. And I'm going to have to change this because I've done this before. Hadoop does not update. It simply would give you a failure if you already had that file there. And then I execute job. And then it'll execute it massively parallelly. But it's a batch. So you can see there it's running the MapReduce. Pretty cool, huh? Running. And running the mapper and the reducer. And you'll see as this goes along, it'll start the mappers and it'll show the percentage of completion. And when the mappers are done, then it'll show the reducer. So the concept behind this is that you have massive amounts of data. Remember the data from me walking around the mall or from my clothing, it's collecting my health information, and you want to make some sense of the data. Now in the case of word count, this is the map is done now. There's the map, so it should do the reduce. There we go, see? In the case of word count, all that's going to happen, the mapper, and I'll show you the Java code in just a minute, simply separates the text on spaces. And remember the mapper runs on each node, and then it produces a word like the and a count 1, man 1, is 1, so on and so forth, like that. The reducer takes those sets, the 1, man 1, is 1, and aggregates them, counts them. That's all. Very simple. And you can see you get a lot of performance information here. And is it done? Nope, not quite yet. So very powerful, but a different method of working with data. This would not be useful if you expected interactive queries, quick queries that came back right away. Would not be useful. It can take minutes, can take hours, can take overnight. Okay? Still going. So I'll come back when it's done. So, the second point. Hadoop and MapReduce is batch, not interactive. Now this is an interesting space. As you may expect, customers are wanting a faster result. So there is a vendor that creates a release of Hadoop. They have a lot of the committers. They're called Cloudera. And they have a very recent release called Impala that is, the actual release is free. They charge for support. That includes an optimization to Hive to actually make it quicker. So if you're interested in learning more, I would recommend, in addition to Microsoft's implementation, you go and download the virtual machine from Cloudera and work with it, with Impala. So as I said, limitation of Hadoop is write once, read many. The structure is dynamic versus static. It does not have transactional integrity, but it has linear scaling. This is how Google indexes the internet. And the important thing, a query response time has latency. So you must use the right database system for the right